Unit 1, Education and Life. Lesson 1, The Parrot's Tale. A. Give a person a fish and you feed them for a day. Teach a person to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. This ancient proverb explains the long-lasting effects of education in our lives. Work with a partner. Discuss the following questions with your friend sitting next to you. A. What, according to you, is the ultimate goal of education? B. Who and what do you associate with education? B. Here is a short story on education. Read the story and answer the questions that follow. The Parrot's Tale, Rabindranath Tagore, translated by Kaiser Hawk. 1. Once upon a time, there lived a bird. It was unlettered. It sang but could not recite a word of scripture. It hoped and it flew but lacked all sense of manners. The king said, such a bird is of no use, yet it devours fruit from the forest, bringing down the profits of fruiterers in the royal market. He summoned the minister and commanded, educate the bird. 2. The task of educating the bird fell on the king's nephews, his sister's sons. The learned men of the court deliberated long. They pondered the reasons behind the ignorance of the creature in question. The conclusion: the bird's nest, made of straw and twigs, could not hold much knowledge. Therefore, the first thing needed was a proper catch. The royal scholar received handsome fees and happily went home. 3. A goldsmith set to work on a gilded catch. It turned out to be of such exquisite workmanship that people from far and near crowded round for a look. Some said this is education par excellence. Others said even if it learns nothing, it has got the catch. What a lucky bird! The goldsmith was delighted to get a bag full of money as a reward and went home at once. A teacher came to give lessons to the bird. He took a pinch of snuff and declared, this is not a matter of just a few texts. One of the royal nephews sent for scribes. They made multiple copies of various texts until there was a veritable mountain. Bravo! Exclaimed those who saw it. There is no room for any more knowledge. The scribes loaded their wages onto bullocks and merrily headed home. They would never again want for anything. The nephews were constantly busy looking after the expensive catch. Repairs were always underway. Anyone who saw the endless dusting, whipping, and polishing had to agree that there was marked improvement. A large maintenance crew was needed and more personnel to supervise them. They all got handsome monthly salaries, which they saved in their wooden chest. Even their cousins came to live with them in cushioned comfort. 4. The world is short of many things, but not detractors. They said the cage looks better, no doubt, but has anyone taken notice of the bird? this was reported to the king. He said to a nephew, "What's this I hear?" "Your Majesty," replied the nephew, "if you wish to hear the truth, summon the goldsmiths, the scholars, the scribes, the maintenance crew, and their supervisor. Those who have not got a share of the royal bounty are resorting to slander." Everything became clear to the king, and he rewarded his nephew with a gold chain. The king wished to see for himself at what an awesome pace the bird's schooling was going on. One day he turned up at the schoolroom with his friends, counselors, and courtiers. At once the musicians at the gate struck upon their many wind and percussion instruments. The teachers shook their scared tufts of hairs as they loudly chanted mantras, and all the workmen, laborers, goldsmiths, scribes, and their numerous cousins raised slogans in praise of the king. A nephew commented, "Your Majesty can see how things are going on." "Astonishing," replied the king. "The din is not negligible." "Not only the noise," said the nephew, "the meaning behind it is not negligible either." The king was pleased and walked out of the gate to mount his elephant when one of the fault finders, who had been lurking behind the bushes, shouted, "Have you seen the bird, your Majesty?" The king was startled. He said, "There, I had forgotten about it. We have not seen the bird." He went back and said to the teacher, "We must see the manner in which you conduct the lessons." Demonstrations followed. It pleased the king no end. The manner was so advanced that the bird was hardly visible. It seemed not at all necessary to see the bird. The king was satisfied that there was no flaw in the arrangement. Inside the cage, there was neither any grain nor a drop of water, only reams of text were being torn, and the pieces of paper thrust into the bird's mouth with the points of a quill. Not only had the singing stopped, there was not even scope for screeching. It was thrilling to watch. This time, as the king mounted the elephant, he ordered the officer entrusted with twisting the ears of mischief makers to deal with the fault finder. 6. Predictably, the bird weakened with every passing day and lay half dead. The tutors considered it a good sign. Still, out of innate bad habit, it would look out at the morning light and flutter its wings in a reprehensible manner. In fact, on some days it would try to cut the wires of the cage with its feeble beak. "What impudence!" the inspector of police commented. Then the blacksmith arrived with his furnace, bellows, and hammer and anvil. What thunderous hammering began then! A chain was fastened on the bird's foot, and its wings were trimmed. The king's brother-in-law looked greatly annoyed as they shook their heads and said, "It's not just that the birds in the kingdom are stupid, they're also ungrateful." Then the teachers, armed with quill in one hand and yarns in the other, gave a memorable demonstration of teaching. The blacksmith trades flourished to such an extent that gold ornaments bedecked his wife's body, and the police inspector's alertness earned him a medal. 7. The bird died. When it died was not known. thanks to the godforsaken detractors, the rumors went around. The bird is dead. The king called his nephew and said, "What is this I hear?" "Your Majesty," the nephew replied, "the bird's education has been completed." The king asked, "Does it hop?" "God forbid," said the nephew. "Does it still fly?" "No." "Does it still sing?" "No." "Does it stretch if it is not fed?" "No." "Bring it to me so that I can say it," said the king. The bird came. Along with it came the inspector, a guard, a cavalry officer. The king pressed the bird. It made no sound, not even a squeak. Only its stomach let out the rustling noise of dry pieces of paper. Outside, the green shoots of early spring sighted in the southerly breeze, filling the sky above the budding forest trees with wistful melancholy. See, you can listen to an audio version of the story using this QR code. D. Read the following words, phrases taken from the story and write their contextual meanings in your own language in the blank spaces. Do this yourself. E. The following columns have some characters from the story. How would you like to portray them? Use the words in the box. You can also use your own words. Do this yourself. F. Read the text below defining three types of literary works and decide what type of work the Parrot tale is. Satire, a genre of literature and sometimes graphic and performing arts in which vices, follies, abuses, and shortcomings are held up to ridicule, ideally with the intent of shaming individuals, corporations, governments, or society itself into improvements. Tragedy, a play dealing with tragic events and having an unhappy ending, especially one concerning the downfall of the main character. Comedy, a kind of literary work that is amusing and satirical or humorous in tone. Generally, it has a happy ending. G. Read the questions below and write short answers. H. Project work, working groups. Suppose you are the Pandits who have come to teach the bird. What would you do? Why? Or suppose you are the king. What would you do after seeing the bird's tragic end? Comment yourselves.